Here we go.
After The Seed of the Sacred Fig premiered at the Cannes Film Festival earlier this year to a lot of good reviews, I made sure to keep an eye on it, and whenever it would eventually get released, go check it out. One of the key bits behind the movie that really interested me was the fact that this movie was made in secret. Due to the fact that writer-director Mohammad Rasoulof has been imprisoned multiple times for making films that really criticize Iran's government, specifically how they shine a light on the abusive government powers in Iran. And in fact, this was one of the many scripts that he apparently wrote while he was in jail. So now he has fled the country and he is living in hiding. So you have to, one, acknowledge that that's an incredible feat, and even if you're not entirely in love with the movie like I am, you really just have to give a lot of credit to the fact that it did that. The fact that it was made in secret and is now going to potentially even be nominated for some awards. The main reason why I wasn't crazy about the movie is that I found it to be far too tedious and long. Really just overlong to the point that it's nearly 3 hours long, and nowhere was I really thinking that the movie needed to be this long. When you have the topic of long run times, you have to really think about what movie deserves its runtime. After watching it, does it make sense that the movie was as long as it was? Did it need to be as long as it was? For the story here, I don't think it necessarily served the runtime. And in fact, the story feels like a tale of two movies, where the first hour is a movie much different than the second hour. I wouldn't necessarily call it a plot twist, but I'm always down for a movie that can go against what you're predicting it to be and tell an unpredictable story. Speaking of the first hour, I will say that it didn't really feel like it was going anywhere, and it definitely was starting to test my patience. Then the second hour starts to kick it in gear a little bit. The movie never really totally picks up to the point where I was on the edge of my seat. I do have to say that it's an interesting deconstruction of differing familial political views. It deals with the question of what would happen if someone in your family had ties, specifically political ties, to something that you simply didn't agree with. And so you take matters into your own hands and you potentially get that loved one in trouble. That's an idea that I think can serve for a really interesting story. I wish that I found the movie more captivating. I think if the pacing was much more concise, and especially in the editing, if you just cut a bit of the movie out, it could have led to a much more intriguing and overall captivating movie. I do have to say that the character decisions, especially towards the latter half of the movie, are extremely questionable and feel almost fantastical. I've heard some say, well, that's just what happens if you were put in a position like this. It really is just hard to believe, and especially for a story that feels so grounded in reality, to then go to that length, it just didn't feel like it meshed. There are also odd bits of comedy that don't work, and my theater was eating it up, but for me, I did not find that any of them really worked. And then you get to the ending that just feels unsatisfying, because the movie unfortunately backs itself into a corner where there's no real other place to go, and it's more of a disappointing way to take it. I thought there's this game of like hide and seek that goes on for way too long. It's supposed to be this really riveting moment, especially when you're getting to the climax of the movie, and it just doesn't come off as that. I was honestly just waiting for it to end. I do have to say that the performances are all good, and these are mostly newcomers from what I can tell. But in the end, I was more frustrated with The Seed of the Sacred Fig than anything. The main issue is that I just found it to be tedious and far too long. Again, I have to give massive props for it just being released, which is just an incredible feat in and of itself. But I wish that it was overall more of a captivating story. I'm gonna give The Seed of the Sacred Fig a C+, and if you're really interested, I would just recommend streaming it. I want to thank you so much for watching this review, and as always, look forward to more content coming soon. My name is Ben, people call me Meter, and I'll see you guys in the next one.